Good afternoon, and thank you very much for inviting me to be in this panel today. And apologies for not being able to be there in person with you today. I hope you can see me and hear me okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to build up on some of the initial remarks that Manuel Campa just made, which I think are very appropriate, and focus most of my remarks on a bit more deepening on the status of the banking industry in Europe and the challenges ahead for us. As the governor just said, I think it's fair to say that the current status of the banks in the European Union is good, resilient in terms of capital levels, in terms of liquidity levels, in terms of non-performing exposures, as well as in terms of profitability. The banks have been performing well, and this is a sign of the strength of our banking sector. We will test that resilience in the months ahead as we engage in a new stress test exercise that we do every 2 years. We will start in January of next year. We expect to publish those results at the end of July of 2025. But beyond that, I think that it's also fair to say that the banking sector in Europe has helped us weather some of the significant challenges that we were exposed to over the last 3 or 4 years. Starting with the COVID pandemic, we can think about the invasion of Russia in the Ukraine, the energy crisis that led out of that, or the rapid increase in interest rates. In all those circumstances, the banking sector in Europe has been part of the solution to those problems, has been supporting the economy in what was needed and providing adequate lending and engaging with customers to ensure they were able to address their financial difficulties. So I think that's a sign of the strength that we should not take for granted, but on the contrary, that we should try to build upon it as we go forward into the future. So we need to, for that, assess what are the key challenges ahead of us, and second, what have been the things that we have done so far that have helped us to get here and that will also help us to continue to provide strength. So if I might get to the challenges very quickly, because the government has addressed them, I think that we can say that we're in a period of macroeconomic geopolitical uncertainty that's ahead of us that we need to be able to address as we go forward. And second, that there are two other structural challenges that the sector itself is exposed to and our societies overall are exposed to, which is the technological changes driven by digitalization, and of course, the challenges of sustainability, more precisely on climate risk. To address all those challenges, we need to have, above all, a robust and well-managed banks that are able to adequately allocate credit to the economy, but more important, also be able to measure, manage, and account for financial risks in our economies. For that, if I may look back in the past, I can say that the action that we have taken over the last 15 years have taken us to where we are today, have helped us build this robust system, and those are a combination of actions taken by banks, regulatory activity that has performed, and enhanced supervisory measures taken both by national authorities, but more important, by the result of the banking union, the single supervisor within the ECB. So going forward, let's build on those rules. Let's make sure that we finish the banking package that we have put in place in the European Union so that we have a robust regulatory system that helps us continue to provide adequate financing to the economy. Let's work further, as the governor said, on finalizing the banking union and build on the very good experience of the last 10 years from the single supervisory mechanism, finish the resolution aspect of a regulatory framework with the crisis management and deposit insurance, and work further towards integrated deposit insurance in the union. Let's also work on the other two challenges that we have, which are digitalization and climate change. On digitalization, if I might say, the good status of the current banking sector, the high profitability, is a good time to invest in the future. We need to make sure that banks are able to make the necessary investments to put themselves in a good situation to maintain sustainable business models in the future. We also need to make sure that we build a regulatory framework that allows for that innovation to come into the system in a manner that's safe and to the benefit of all EU citizens. Second aspect on climate change, if I might say briefly, we need to make sure that we continue to push on the aspects necessary to enhance our ability to properly assess the financial risk arising from those challenges, both in terms of transition risk, physical risk, and long-term sustainability. As a token of that effort that we've been doing, we have published earlier this week a system-wide stress test on climate-related issues on a particular policy agenda, which is the Fit for 55 EU policy, with the agenda to 2030, and the results there are encouraging. This financial system-wide assessment in which we can conclude that the financial system will likely be resilient to the challenges of that transition, will incur further losses and larger losses as we go forward if that transition is coupled throughout between now and 2030 with an economic recession or further economic challenges. That will be more challenging in the financial sector, but our assessment of both the banks, the insurance companies, the fund managers, and the pension systems is that the system overall will remain resilient to adequately provide credit to the economy as we go forward. That's encouraging because it also shows in a wider context that a robust banking and financial sector will be able to support the transformation of our European economy going forward beyond sustainability on the challenges that have been highlighted also by the governor, coming out of the Draghi report, competitiveness, and other issues that I'm sure we'll discuss throughout the meeting today. So just to summarize, we have built over the last 15 years institutional framework that has proven to be resilient and that has proven to build us better and stronger banks. That institutional framework from the point of view of regulation and supervision remains incomplete. Let's make sure that we finish that homework and we complete that process so that we can continue to have a banking sector that will help us as we go forward with the challenges ahead. Thank you very much for the invitation again.